Welcome back to another adventure. Landscape photography, New Zealand. We have the ingredients, so let's go.
You're up in the sky, I'll carry you home, home to the mountaineers. And soon, my friend, you'll see them again, the ones you left behind, the ones you left behind. And I'll sing for you all the way home.
So we're on a small little loop track today, just outside of Queenstown. I love Queenstown, if I haven't mentioned that already. I've never been on this track before. I've done a little bit of research. I think there's going to be 2 or 3 little waterfalls. You're kind of crisscrossing over a river for most of the track, so definitely a few intimate compositions. Weather is not ideal for landscape photography. It's very overcast. We've got flat light, not perfect. I've checked the weather forecast, the trusty old weather forecast, of course, and it's saying that there's a possibility that the clouds might break up around about the time of sunset, around 6:30 or 7 o'clock. So we can only hope, we can only wait and see. So let's crack on with this hike and see if we can find any decent compositions.
As I walk through the gate, she stands just like before, but she doesn't look the same. The fear in her eyes, I've seen it before, and she can't recall my name.
So I've found a gorgeous little composition, guys, for my first image. So if you look here, we've got these 2 rocks right in the middle of the river. And what I'm trying to capture here, in essence, is the movement of the water. That's all that's important to me here. I'm shooting at 35mm, and I'm zooming in to the rocks, and I'm having them sort of just off center, and I'm just playing about with the exposure just to see what I can get. I've got my polarizer on the front, which is doing an awesome job at cutting. There's a lot there. The rocks are obviously very wet, so it's cutting all that glare off the rocks, which is brilliant. So as the water hits those rocks, it's swirling around, it's going in all different directions, and what I'm trying to do with my longer shutter speed is just try and capture the movement in that water. Obviously the rocks are going to stay stationary, the detail is going to be captured in the rocks, and it's just going to make for a gorgeous contrast. I think it's going to be a nice little first image.
Just where it was needed, gleaming black as night, cloistered in injustice, dead in the eye of time. Nobody is losing, faces merge and change, but your face remains the same. Swallows will be here by dawn, when we're finally sober, they'll be gone.
So I'm going to stop and take an image here, actually, guys. I found this really cool little tunnel, and from my understanding, this is man-made. Now, this whole area, without going into too much detail, the whole of Queenstown and the surrounding towns, they came about as a result of a gold find. So miners from all over the world, they came here just to make a fortune, I guess. And so this was chiseled through, blasted through, and I think the only purpose was just to allow the water to flow down from the mining phase, which we just went past before. But it's going to make for a really cool little image, so I'm going to get my camera set up here and try and figure out a little composition. So guys, this is a pretty simple image. I'm obviously shooting straight down the tunnel, and in my foreground I've got this moss on the left and right hand side of this sort of cliff edge on the edge of the tunnel basically, and that's what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to focus on the foreground and hopefully lose the focus as I get further back towards the tunnel where there's a kind of streak of light. It's quite difficult to expose for because the streak of light at the end of the tunnel is pretty bright compared to the sort of walls here near us. So 1 second exposure, shooting at f7.1 just to try and get that foreground in focus, ISO 100, and we'll see how that looks on the LCD. Oh, and that's come out perfect. Gorgeous image that really does tell a story of this area. Fantastic.
How cool is that? An old mining hook. That's amazing.
Guys, I'm getting excited. I can hear a waterfall. I'm gonna head towards it now. Beauty. So we'll definitely be shooting that. I'm gonna sit down and have a bit of cough first, and just relax and enjoy the environment and just think about a composition. So I'm all set up on the edge of this cliff. It's really dodgy. I need to be very careful that my camera doesn't fall off the cliff and me. So compositionally, don't really need to go into too much detail. Kind of speaks for itself. I'm shooting in portrait just so I can get more of the image from top to bottom. I'm not interested in what's going on left to right. So I have a bit of an idea here, and I don't know if anyone would agree with this, but I feel like when I would look at this image, I would start at the top of the river before it goes to the waterfall, so essentially following the flow of the water. Now, I don't know if that's a thing. It's almost like a reverse leading line, but I feel like it works here. Maybe let me know what you think. Anyway, no filters, it's dark here, and I should mention as well, I don't want to use a polarizer because I want to capture the reflection in that river at the top. Just like my first image, guys, I'm playing around with the shutter speeds here, and the only reason is, it's just to try and figure out how much detail I actually want to capture in the waterfall. This one, I think I want to capture a little bit more detail. Personally, I just think it looks a little bit better. So what I'm doing is I'm actually shooting at ISO 800 because it's quite dark, and I'm shooting at f16. The reason is, just so I can get a much quicker shutter speed. I'm shooting at 1/3 of a second. Now, I've tried it at 2.5 second shutter speed, and I just think it wasn't capturing enough detail. I didn't like the way it looked, basically. So 1/3 of a second. Let me know what you think. Maybe you think I should have gone for a much longer shutter speed. So guys, please subscribe if you enjoyed today's adventure and you want to see more, and I shall see you next week. Thank you.